WVNV for you and me. Victory at home and overseas.
Hello and welcome to WVNV Radio, your home for all things Double V. I'm Alfredo Pratico.
I'm Jonna Labella.
I'm Molly McCoy.
And I'm Cameron Scott. And on today's show, we have an exclusive interview with public figure and activist extraordinaire Joe Lewis. But first, let's hear from Molly with the Daily News.
Doris Miller, more commonly known as Dory, has become one of the most recent recipients of the Navy Cross. On May 17th, Doris made history by becoming the first African-American recipient of this prestigious award at just 23 years old. A Waco, Texas native, Miller served in a non-combat role, as most blacks are only allowed to do, on the battleship USS West Virginia during the attack on Pearl Harbor. When Japanese aircrafts bombarded U.S. troops and persisted in those attacks, Miller quickly left his role of carrying wounded soldiers to safe quarters. He picked up an anti-aircraft machine gun and was able to hit 3 to 4 aircrafts. Miller shot until he was out of ammo, even when men were ordered to abandon ship. You probably recall seeing Miller in the news, particularly our black press. Dory Miller is a true hero and demonstrates black capability in achieving victory overseas.
Robert C. Weaver is making history with his recent Negroes Need Housing article, which was published in the NAACP's magazine, The Crisis. He is bringing light to the topic of income differences between African Americans and the cost of living. He proposed an idea to initiate a government housing plan so more African Americans have access to buy a house. Robert C. Weaver has done so much for the community as he is working in several capacities that are trying to mobilize black labor into industrial employment. Robert C. Weaver is a wonderful example of black excellence for everything he has done.
Our person of the week is Paul Robeson. Mr. Paul Robeson was born on April 9, 1898. He was well known for a multitude of activities as he was an athlete, civil rights activist, actor, football player, singer, and lawyer. He obtained a scholarship to Rutgers University, making him the third black person to attend the school. He received high honors from his masterful debate and oratory skills. He was also adept at sports, and he received 15 varsity sport letters. He was elected to Phi Beta Kappa and graduated as the valedictorian of his class. From 1920 to 1923, he gained a law degree from Columbia University. He earned money to pay for his tuition by teaching a Latin class and playing pro football. He was married in 1921 and stayed together for 40 years and had a son. His acting career started when he led a production of All God's Children Got Wings and starred in a London performance as the Emperor Jones. In the late 20s, he moved to Europe, and after 1933, he performed in 6 British films. We hope his career will have many more successes in the future.
If there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the opportunity to see Marian Anderson perform live. From a limited engagement in a city near you, you can hear the breathtaking Miss Anderson sing before your very ears. Miss Anderson's lovely contralto tones will delight your ears and thrill you to the bone. Coming off a stint in Europe, as well as her iconic performance on Easter Sunday of 1939 at the Lincoln Memorial, you have the chance to see a once-in-a-lifetime performance from a strong black woman. If her entrancing vocals aren't enough to get you to her concert, perhaps you can get behind her for her activism and role in breaking racial barriers. Double V proudly endorses this lovely woman.
Welcome back to WVNV. I'm here in the studio with Joe Lewis, the boxer of legend who's been an inspiration to Negroes everywhere. Thank you for being here, Joe.
I'm happy to be here.
So, Joe, as such a distinguished boxer, how and where did you find the fire to land all your punches?
Well, I would say it comes from my childhood. I was born in rural Alabama, and both of my parents were first-generation freemen, and I was the second youngest of 8 children. My father was sent to an insane asylum when I was 2, so I was primarily raised by my mother. So I would say that my inner spark and flame comes from my childhood.
How did you first get started in boxing?
Well, after my family moved to Detroit because of the KKK's actions, my mom wanted me to take up violin. At the time, I was in a vocational school learning cabinet making, so I had enough of wood between my fingers. Since I was 17, I wanted to try something that my mother did not want me to do. So I put on some boxing gloves and pounded a punching bag. Soon after, I had my first amateur match.
How did your amateur and professional career proceed?
Well, after my first bout, I continued fighting as an amateur, and I ended my amateur career with a 50-win and 3-loss record, and 43 of my wins were knockouts. After starting to fight professionally, it was difficult for me to find legitimate fights against well-known opponents, particularly because I was black. I think the legacy that Jack Johnson left behind of being the black champion, having an interracial marriage, scared whites away from fights with Negroes. My promoters actually gave me a set of rules to make sure that I wasn't portrayed in the same way that Jack Johnson was. So I made sure that I was never seen gloating with a white woman, fighting fixed fights, or fighting dirty. These rules helped me to be portrayed positively in white media and opened the ring to me in ways that would never have been possible. I soon became a regular and popular fighter, and I won the AP's Athlete of the Year award in 1935. The worst fight of my life came soon after winning the award. I fought against Max Schmeling, a German, in Yankee Stadium in front of thousands of people. I lost to him, and Hitler and the Nazis took this as a sign of Aryan power. I was determined to never again lose a match and to fight for the American people and the black race.
And after that fight, did you ever get a rematch?
Indeed, I got a rematch with Schmeling. People from all over the world watched, and I knocked out Schmeling in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. The Nazis were stunned, and FDR, the president at the time, was finally congratulatory to the black boxer who beat the Aryan. After that, I won the world championship and defended that title 13 times. Soon after World War II started, I fought in charity matches for the armed forces and enlisted myself in the army. I served in the Special Services Division, and I traveled more than 20,000 miles to entertain deployed troops, keeping them motivated to fight the enemy. After that, I fought some more, but I was tired and wore down, so I retired.
And did you have any post-retirement endeavors to complete?
I wanted to desegregate golf. Besides boxing, I was in love with golf. I petitioned the PGA to allow me to enter a tournament. In order to do this, they had to first remove a bylaw that barred non-whites from playing in a match. Though it took some time, the rule was removed in '61, and it opened the league up to black players. I hope that my actions show how any black can succeed.
A powerful and inspirational message indeed, good for all the youngsters at home to remember and live by. Joe Louis still holds the record for most time as world champion, 11 years and 10 months. And with that, we will take a short break and come back with the roundup.
Welcome back, and for today's roundup, Dory Miller has won the Navy Cross, Robert Weaver is exposing the difference in the income of blacks and the cost of living, Joe Louis, world-renowned boxer, is still fighting for a change even after retirement. Thank you for tuning in. I'm John Labella.
I'm Cameron Scott.
I'm Molly McCoy.
And I'm Alfredo Pratico.
You've been listening to WVNV.
VNV for you and me. Victory at home and overseas.
And this is NPR.